David, you are a growing boy. You need your sleep. Get into bed right now.
Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Jughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Pixel Ripped 1995, developed by Arvore Immersive Experiences. Pixel Ripped 1995 was previously available on Index, Vive, Rift, and Windows Mixed Reality, but is now released for PSVR in North America and hits the EU this May 19th, 2020. As always, this review will be on the PSVR version and reviewed on the PS4 Pro. Depending on your region, the game will retail for an estimated price of $27. Pixel Ripped is back with a brand new nostalgia-fueled virtual reality game, this time in the year 1995. To restore balance to multiple dimensions, our video game hero Dot recruits the help of the best gamer from 1995, an unassuming 19-year-old boy named David. Join this unlikely duo through challenging throwbacks to all your favorite games. Arvore returns to the Pixel Ripped universe to offer up another chapter in their love letter to video games. 90s kids rejoice. Let's see if Arvore nails the feels once again. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Not only helps out my channel, but VR gaming as a whole. And if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. And for additional PSVR info, follow Jughead Gaming on Twitter and Facebook. Let's get at it. Graphics are up first. Pixel Ripped 1989 was an ambitious game that nailed the atmosphere of being a kid in the 80s, but I thought came off as a bit of a mixed bag visually. Everything involving the 8-bit game worlds was pristine and accurate, really nailing the games of that era, and even putting us inside them. Unfortunately, I felt that the real-world parts came off less polished and convincing. Sure, the level of detail was there, but the character designs, animations, and overall look of the real world felt a bit rough. Here in 1995, the 90s games aren't the only thing that got an update, the biggest of which is the slight shift in art style, opting to make the real-world parts a little more cartoon in their overall aesthetic. Overall, texture detail is slightly reduced and character models have been modified slightly to give them more of a rounded animated look. The end result is a game that, while maybe not aiming for as authentic a look, actually comes off better for it. Pixel Ripped 1989 went for a more authentic look, but ended up feeling beyond its budget, while Pixel Ripped 1995 goes for more a Toy Story approach to the real world. The actual 8-bit video gaming in 1989 that so perfectly recreated the look and feel of that era is wonderfully doubled down on here in 1995. Outside of the obvious graphical upgrades going to the 16-bit and 32-bit graphics of the era, Pixel Ripped 1995 also has way more variety in not only its settings in the real world, but more importantly in the game worlds themselves, jumping around from different consoles at the time, and managing to touch on just about every popular genre you could think of, making each of the 5 chapters feel completely different from the others. This could have backfired if the quality wasn't consistent across all these, but visiting all my old gaming spots from the living room to the bedroom, as well as the video rental store and the arcade, all nailed what they looked and felt like. And more importantly, each and every game looked like lost treasures from gaming in the 90s, dusted off and given new life, making me smile the whole time. Sound is up next.
Now that you mention it, you haven't worn your Santa costume this year yet.
Ooh, you're right. It's upstairs, you know.
Good luck saving the world, baby. We're heading upstairs.
What? But there were only 7. I mean... Oh, wow. You found it. Great. But I found it first, so you're still second place. Here, you can have your stupid old game. I didn't even want it that much.
Hello, cool.
Like the visuals here, the sounds also aim to recreate what it sounded like to be a kid in the 90s. Pixel Ripped 1989 also did this fairly well with the 80s era, but similarly with its visuals, it is also the real-world parts where I thought ambition and capabilities didn't totally line up, with voice acting being very hit or miss. In Pixel Ripped 1995, this has obviously been addressed head-on, with Arvore bringing in actual voice actors this time around, resulting in a much more professional and effective portrayal. Listening to the mum give me crap about playing games too late, too much, or not listening at all brought back some warm memories and maybe just a touch of PTSD too. From gaming head-to-head against kids in the arcade or hearing them discuss the benefits of the different consoles and games at the rental store actually hit me in the nostalgia feels on more than a few occasions. My only complaint here is the repetitiveness of the lines on offer from many of the characters, made even worse if you're getting beaten down by a specific part of a game and hearing the same go-to-bed line for the 25th time. With the video game sounds being such a solid part of Pixel Rip 1989, it was no surprise here in 1995 to get more of the dead-on portrayal of the games we loved. What's so surprising and impressive here, though, is that this level of authenticity can be heard across all the games and all the genres, perfectly replicating but never outright copying them. Well, okay, maybe a little copying. All it's missing is this. From the digital music tracks to the badly recorded audio samples, everything, and I mean everything, is lovingly and painstakingly recreated here, creating a wonderful tribute to the handful of important games in our childhood. Actually, this can be said about the whole audio package here, definitely bringing its A game to this decade. And that brings us to gameplay. Pixel Rip 1995 takes what worked in the first game and, like any good sequel, doubles down on that while trying to improve in the other areas. The setup is basically the same, pretty much picking up right at the end of 1989. In typical platformer fashion, the big bad is never really beaten, and he teleports himself to 1995 to attempt world domination yet again. Again, taking on the role of another video game kid, you will again be tasked with not only controlling Dot through some retro goodness, but also interacting with the real world around you. My big issue with Pixel Rip 1989 was actually a testament to the developer, as I just wanted to play more of their 8-bit game and less of the, while charming, often tedious make work in the real world. And while I still feel the same way about some of the real world stuff here, whereas 1989 focused a lot on the loner introvert wanting to be left alone, I found the interaction here easier to relate to, as it played heavily on what it actually felt like gaming as a 90s kid. Whether I was trying to stay up late playing games or picking out some game rentals at the stand-in for a blockbuster, it all hit the feels just right. Here in 1995 though, playing games is front and center, giving us a lot more to play and a lot more variety. Throughout the 4 to 5 hour campaign, you will play tributes to games like Earthbound, Zelda, Super Mario Land, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Metroid, Mega Man, Streets of Rage, Star Fox, Road Rash, Mortal Kombat, Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot. The amazing thing is, while in some cases very simplified, the gameplay in each not only looked like the games we played, but actually played like them, really helping to make this something special. That being said, these snapshots of classic games, while longer in 1989, still suffer from an overall feeling of shallowness, sometimes even overstaying their welcome when it ran out of ideas. However, when Pixel Ripped is showing off the ideas they do have, it can at times be absolutely brilliant. A standout example is standing in the rental store between two playable consoles, with one coming off as the family-friendly Super Nintendo and the other totally the edgier, more mature Sega Genesis. The task given to you has you switching from console to console, grabbing power-ups from one game world to use in the other, and vice versa. The whole concept was flippin' fantastic, and truly the Pixel Ripped franchise at its best. And what I enjoyed about Pixel Ripped 1995 when compared to 1989 was that 1995 just had way more of these special moments, as it not only jumps from genre to genre, but even console generations, bringing in the introduction of true 3D gaming. The mid-90s was a strange but awesome time in gaming history, as we not only had Super Nintendo pushing the limits of 16-bit gaming, but we also had Sega whoring itself with the Sega CD and 32X add-ons. But it also saw the introduction of the next generation of consoles in the Sony PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and Nintendo 64 a year later. Pixel Rip plays in that pool too, as it takes its turn at 3D platforming, and of course, it also nails it. Pixel Rip 1995 is controlled with only a DS4 controller and will be played sitting. Besides the odd sequence, VR sickness should not be an issue for most, and only a minimal amount of play space is required. And finally, that brings us to fun factor, my final review. Pixel Rip 1995's meta-nostalgia trip of a game within a game within a game is literally video game art when it's at its best. I'm not really a retro gamer, so some of the retro gameplay segments had a been there done that vibe, but I know that's the point and will greatly scratch an itch for many others. Pixel Rip 1995 compared to 1989 feels like Arvore's vision much more fully realized, at times making 1989 feel more like a proof of concept. That's not really a hit against that game, but a testament to the polish and imagination found here in 1995. As you guys know, I hate number ratings and instead rate games on a basis of buy it, burn it, or wait for it. Like I said at the beginning, Pixel Rip 1995 is a love letter to 90s gaming, and for that matter, gaming in general. There is something just so special about the current cutting-edge video gaming hardware being used to let us live out the games that we learn to game on. If the nostalgia trip or simply retro gaming appeals to you, this is a definite must-buy and is a real steal at this price. If not, or you didn't like 1989, maybe wait for a sale, as it is very much for those types of gamers. But I encourage all of you to consider trying it at some point, as this is a game that has obviously been made for gamers by gamers, and it deserves your attention. Anyways guys, that's it for me. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys on my next video.